I met Kate during my sophomore year of college, on one of those sticky late summer days when the air feels like it's clinging to your skin. I was the quiet one, bookish, practical, still nursing the scars from a high school breakup that taught me not to trust people so easily. Kate, on the other hand, was everything I wasn't. Loud, magnetic, and utterly intoxicating. She had this way of pulling people toward her. You could be halfway across a crowded room, and she'd catch your eye, wave, and make you feel like you were the only person who mattered in that moment. Everyone loved Kate, and somehow she chose me to be her person. Our friendship started like a spark sleepless nights filled with stories, cheap wine, and secrets whispered under the soft hum of her fairy lights. She knew everything about me, my insecurities, my dreams, the things I'd never said out loud before, and I knew hers, or at least, I thought I did. We made promises, the kind of sacred vows only two young women can make when they think friendship is invincible. We'll never lie to each other. We'll always protect each other. No man will ever come between us. If I had known how those words would taste years later, I might have choked on them. Back then, life was simple. We studied together, ate ramen for dinner more nights than I'd like to admit, and dreamed about the future, about love, success, happiness. We even made a stupid pact. Whoever got married first would make the other maid of honor. I remember laughing, clinking cheap wine glasses, thinking nothing could ever change us. But time has a way of testing promises. And people, well, people change. When I met Daniel, my husband, I didn't even think twice about how it might shift the dynamic between Kate and me. He was kind, gentle, and a little awkward in the most endearing way. The kind of man who'd pick flowers just because he thought of you, who'd hold your face when you were crying, not saying a word, just letting you breathe. Kate met him at a coffee shop one morning when I dragged her along for brunch. I still remember the way she looked at him, her smile polite but tight, eyes sharp, scanning him like he was a test she wasn't sure I'd pass. Afterward, she laughed it off, said he seemed nice. But the tone was wrong, too flat, too dismissive. It didn't register back then, but that was the first crack in the foundation. As our relationship deepened, Kate began to shift. She'd make little jokes about how I'd disappeared since I started dating him. "Oh, I guess I need to book an appointment with my best friend now," she'd say with a smirk. Or, "You're basically married already. I should just start dating your boyfriend so I can see you more often." It was meant to be funny. I laughed, every time. Because that's what friends do, they laugh. Until it stops being funny. When Daniel proposed, I told Kate before anyone else. We were sitting in her tiny apartment, surrounded by old pizza boxes and a half-empty bottle of Moscato, and I showed her the ring. She stared at it for a second too long before smiling. "It's beautiful," she said, voice a little too measured. Then she added, "Wow, you're really growing up, huh?" I brushed it off. I wanted to believe she was happy for me. But over the following months, it became clear that Kate wasn't handling my happiness well. Every time I mentioned Daniel, she'd change the subject. Every time I invited her to dinner, she'd show up late, roll her eyes at our inside jokes, and make comments like, "God, you two are so married already. It's nauseating." Then came the wedding planning. She was my maid of honor, just like we promised. But she was late to every meeting, complained about the bridesmaid dresses, flirted with the groomsmen, and cried during my bachelorette party actual tears. Because in her words, "I just feel like everything's changing, and you don't need me anymore." It was dramatic, exhausting, and yet I comforted her. Because that's what I always did. I carried her emotions like they were my responsibility. The wedding came and went. It was beautiful, despite the chaos. Daniel and I danced under a canopy of lights, while Kate stood to the side, smiling with that same polite, practiced expression that I couldn't quite decipher anymore. For the first year, things were peaceful. We moved into a cozy apartment, built routines, and even included Kate in our plans sometimes. Sunday brunches, movie nights, casual hangouts. But she didn't just want inclusion, she wanted control. She'd ask invasive questions. How often do you two fight? Do you ever get bored of him? And when Daniel didn't answer, she'd joke about how he was too private. Once, I caught her leaning too close to him during a dinner party, asking him about his work in that tone women use when they want attention. It made him uncomfortable. He told me afterward, gently, that she gave him strange vibes. I defended her. Of course I did. She's just joking, I said. That's just Kate. But deep down, something cold settled in my stomach. And then came Mark. He was one of Daniel's friends, quiet, decent, nothing like Kate's usual type. So when she complained about being lonely, we thought it might be nice to set them up. I wish I could go back in time and slap that version of me across the face. At first, it seemed fine. They got along, they laughed. And for a brief, blissful moment, I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe she'll finally be happy, and we'll all move on. Then, the whispers began. It started at a bar. Daniel was out with Mark and the guys when Mark, apparently drunk, made a joke about our infertility issues. A topic so private, so painfully guarded, that hearing it in a bar must have felt like a slap in the face. When Daniel came home that night, his face was pale. "Did you tell Kate about the treatments?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Of course," I said. "She's my best friend." And then it hit me. Kate knew everything. The failed tests, the silent nights, the way Daniel held me when I cried after each doctor's appointment. No one else knew. No one. And yet, somehow, Mark did. And if Mark knew, Daniel's entire friend group knew, which meant half the town probably knew. My stomach twisted as I pieced it together. The strange looks from friends, the random, "How are you holding up?" messages, the gossip I'd brushed off as coincidence. I confronted her the next day. My voice shook, but I didn't care. "Kate," I said, "did you tell Mark about our infertility?" She froze. Her face went blank for a second before she put on her best hurt expression. "Oh my God, no. I mean, I might have mentioned it, but only because we were talking about relationships and being open. I told him it was private." I wanted to scream. "It was never yours to tell." And that's when she said it. The sentence that shattered 10 years of friendship. "He's my boyfriend now. I tell him everything." "You tell your husband things, don't you?" "It's just how relationships work." I couldn't even respond. My throat burned, my chest tight. All I could think was, how could someone I loved so deeply, someone I trusted with everything, be so careless with my pain? I walked out that night. Daniel and I cut ties with her, with Mark, with their entire circle. The fallout was brutal, but it was cleaner than staying in the wreckage. Or so I thought. For weeks after I walked out of Kate's apartment, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in our house reminded me of her laugh, her voice, her presence. Every memory felt contaminated. It's strange how grief doesn't just belong to death. It belongs to betrayal, too. The death of trust, of loyalty, of the version of someone you once loved. Daniel tried to hold it together for both of us. He pretended it didn't hurt him, but I could tell it did. Whenever we passed a mutual friend on the street, he'd go quiet. Whenever his phone buzzed with another message from someone in that old friend group, I'd see his jaw tighten, like he was swallowing back something bitter. We stopped going to our usual spots. the cafe down the street where we used to meet Kate, the bookstore where she helped me pick a novel for our honeymoon trip. Even our living room felt different, like her shadow still lingered there somehow. One night, I sat in the dark, scrolling through my phone. Photos of us filled the screen. 10 years of friendship compressed into pixels. 2 girls smiling on a dorm bed. Birthday parties, vacations, weddings. And then, like a knife twist, I found a selfie we took the night before Daniel proposed. Kate had captioned it, "My forever person." I laughed. It came out ugly, like a cough. That night, I deleted every picture of her from my phone, every text thread, every memory that tethered me to her. But deleting doesn't mean forgetting. A few days later, I started to think. Not about revenge, not yet. At least, that's what I told myself. I just wanted closure. I replayed every conversation in my head. Every secret I'd shared. Every smirk she'd given me when she accidentally let something slip about someone else. That's when it hit me. Kate wasn't just careless. She was calculated. She collected people's secrets like trophies. She loved being the center of attention, the one who knew everything. And I had handed her everything she needed on a silver platter. I decided that night I wouldn't just forgive and forget. I'd learn. Daniel supported me, though he didn't know exactly what was going through my mind. He thought I wanted to move on, and in a way, I did. But not before making sure Kate never got the chance to do this to anyone else, or to me again. 6 months later, Daniel and I moved to my hometown. Fresh start, new faces, but word travels. Even from a distance, Kate managed to keep herself relevant. I'd hear things through acquaintances, little hints that she still talked about me. "Oh, poor Kate," they'd say. "She said you cut her off for no reason." Or, "She told us you got jealous after she started dating Mark." I didn't even get angry anymore. I just smiled. Because anger was her weapon. And I had no intention of giving her more ammunition. Then one afternoon, my mother-in-law called, her voice tight with disbelief. "Your old friend's mother came to talk to me today," she said. "She said you turned on Kate, that she supported you when no one else did." I sat in silence, fingers trembling around the phone. Kate's mother. It wasn't enough that she'd betrayed me herself. Now she had her family spreading her narrative too. That was when my switch flipped. You know that moment when grief burns away and something sharper takes its place? That was me. The sadness evaporated, and all that was left was focus. I decided I'd make her want my friendship again, crave it, need it, and then I'd give her nothing. It wasn't about ruining her life. It was about taking back control. The next day, I texted her. Me. "Hey, I heard your mom's been talking to my mother-in-law. Everything okay?" Kate. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My mom doesn't know boundaries sometimes. I'll fix it, I promise. Can we talk?" Of course she wanted to talk. Of course she did. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our homes, the same one we used to haunt in college. She arrived in a floral dress, fake smile plastered on her face, acting like nothing had ever happened. "God, it's so good to see you," she said, hugging me like we were old friends. Her perfume hit me, same scent as always, sugary and heavy. It almost made me nauseous. I sat across from her, calm, collected. "I just wanted to clear the air," I said. "But honestly, Kate, it's hard to trust you again after everything." Her expression cracked for half a second. Then she sighed dramatically. "I know, I messed up. But I swear, I've changed. Mark and I aren't even together anymore. He was toxic. He told everyone stuff I confided in him." The audacity nearly made me laugh. She was already trying to rewrite the narrative, She wasn't the betrayer anymore. She was the victim. I tilted my head, pretending to soften. I want to believe you, but I don't think I can tell you the big things happening in my life right now. Her eyes lit up, curiosity igniting like a match. Big things? What big things? I smiled faintly. Maybe someday. She took the bait, just like I knew she would. The weeks that followed were like watching a spider walk into its own web. Kate couldn't stand being left out. It wasn't just about gossip, it was about control. She wanted to own people's stories, so she tried to earn me back. Coffee invitations, random miss you texts, compliments that felt more like probes. Every time we talked, she dropped a little more information about her life. Things she thought were vulnerable, things she expected me to match with secrets of my own. I didn't. I just smiled, nodded, and gave vague answers. Oh, life's been full lately. Or, there are some things in the works, but I can't talk about them yet. The more I withheld, the more restless she became. One night, she even said it outright. If it was something big, you'd tell me, right? I mean, we've always shared everything. And that was when I realized she still thought she had power over me. That's when Daniel and I decided to have a little fun. We started crafting stories, little lies, planted carefully in conversations, designed to feed her curiosity. I told her I was working on something major, a project that might change our lives. Daniel casually mentioned to Mark in a text that we were expecting some big news soon. Within 2 days, half the old friend group was buzzing. People I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to catch up. Daniel and I would sit at home, wine glasses in hand, watching the texts roll in, laughing quietly as the chaos unfolded. Kate's messages became frantic. Kate, I just heard something crazy. Is it true? Me, what did you hear? Kate, never mind, I don't want to pry, but if it is true, that's amazing. We kept the game going for weeks. Every time she thought she'd figured something out, I'd twist the story just enough to keep her guessing. And the best part? Every rumor she spread contradicted the last one. Some people thought I was moving abroad. Others thought I was pregnant. A few believed I'd gotten a massive promotion. Kate had become the unreliable narrator of her own story. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Because revenge doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it's just silence, confusion, and watching your betrayer lose credibility one lie at a time. The weeks after the confrontation with Kate's mother stretched into a strange calm. The kind of calm that doesn't comfort you, only waits, patient and taut, like a bowstring pulled too tight. I thought I was done with her, with all of them. But gossip has long legs in small towns, and apparently, mine were marathon runners. Every whisper I ignored found its way back, like an echo-altered, embellished, sharpened. Suddenly, my infertility wasn't just a medical issue. It was punishment for some imaginary sin. Kate's mother had turned the story biblical. My husband, ever the rock, told me not to care. People will talk until they choke on their own words, he said, brushing his thumb along my wrist. But I could see it bothered him. The muscle in his jaw twitched when he thought I wasn't looking. The thing about rumors isn't the lie. It's the erosion. Each word chips at you until you start to wonder if the silence you kept was the mistake. And then came the first message. From an unknown number. I heard Kate's version. She says you were always jealous, that you used her. Funny how things change. It didn't stop there. My inbox filled with more, some cruel, some just curious. The pitying kind of curious that disguises itself as concern. I didn't reply. Not once. Instead, I saved every message in a neat little folder. I wasn't done yet. If she wanted to play the game of whispers, I'd teach her how to drown in it. I started small. A single post online, something vague, almost poetic. Funny how some people lie so much, they forget what truth ever felt like. No names, no tags, nothing. But in our circle, vagueness was gasoline. Within a day, 3 different people reached out asking if it was about Kate. By the next morning, someone had already told her it was. And by that evening, she posted a quote of her own. People project their guilt when they can't handle their reflection. Classic Kate. She could never resist a mirror, even if it was cracked. The real play, though, wasn't social media. It was trust. Or rather, the illusion of it. I told one mutual acquaintance a carefully crafted story. That I'd been approached by someone from Kate's workplace asking if her boyfriend, Mark, knew she'd been having lunch dates with her ex. Completely fabricated. I didn't even have to name the ex. The friend filled in that blank herself. By week's end, Mark had apparently confronted Kate about something. How did I know? Because Kate texted me, furious. Did you tell anyone about my private life? You're obsessed with me. Stay out of my relationship. I stared at the messages, smiling faintly. It was almost too easy. My husband chuckled when I told him. Is this revenge or research? He asked, half amused, half impressed. Both, I replied. Because to understand betrayal, you have to study its architecture. And Kate had built a palace of it. By the 3rd month, cracks began to show. Kate's circle grew smaller. Her laughter at social events sounded rehearsed. She was unraveling, trying to stitch the hole shut with gossip, but it was too late. The web she spun was now choking her. I never needed to expose her myself. People did it for me. Someone leaked screenshots, Kate trash-talking nearly every mutual friend she had. Someone else shared a voice recording of her venting about Mark's boring habits. And the best part? I wasn't even involved. Not directly. That's the beauty of manipulation without fingerprints. You start a breeze, and the storm builds itself. One night, she called me. I almost didn't pick up. But curiosity has teeth. Why are you doing this? She demanded, voice shaking. I'm not doing anything, Kate, I said softly. You started this. I just stopped cleaning up after you. She cried then messy, hiccuping sobs. I didn't mean to hurt you. You were my best friend. Were, I said. Past tense. Silence. Then a faint whisper. I just wanted to feel important. And that was it. The truth, raw and pathetic, laid bare. Kate's entire identity had depended on other people's secrets. Without them, she was nothing but noise. When I hung up, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. 6 months later, my husband and I hosted a small dinner party. New friends, laughter, wine, the kind that tastes like moving on. Kate wasn't there, of course. Rumor had it she and Mark had broken up after he found someone more grounded. Her mother had stopped trying to talk to mine. Her name barely came up anymore. I realized something that night, somewhere between dessert and music. Revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about design. You rebuild your peace so beautifully that those who tried to break you have nowhere left to aim. As guests left and the house fell quiet, my husband wrapped his arms around me. Do you miss her? He asked softly. I thought about that for a long moment. I miss who I thought she was, I said finally, but I don't miss being her secret keeper. He nodded. And as I leaned into his chest, I realized I'd finally stopped listening for echoes. The noise was gone. All that remained was quiet, steady, warm, earned. And in that silence, I smiled.